Hello and welcome to another live session on Facebook, here to give you tips on how to manage your time more productively. My name is Claire Evans and I'm a time management, productivity and balance coach, and I'm looking at helping you to maintain a better, more naturally balanced life so you can manage everything that's going on in an easier way. What I'm doing in these sessions, and you're very welcome to join in and comment on Facebook if you're listening live, or pop a comment in if you're listening to the recording, and I'm happy to come back to you. If you like and follow the page on Facebook, then you will get notifications of when I'm going live. But it is on at 4:30 on a Wednesday, 4:30 UK time. What I wanted to cover in this session is something that again has come up in conversations I've been having with people this week, is around procrastination. The fine art, I like to call it, of putting things off, and how you can manage procrastination, learn to understand why you procrastinate, what you're avoiding, where the reasons are for putting things off, and how you can manage them. So if we look at, it's probably one of the biggest challenges that many of the people that I work with face, and I'm sure it's the same with you if you're watching. And it's very useful to understand why you procrastinate. What are the tasks that you tend to put off? Are they the same sorts of tasks? Is it particular things that you avoid? Sometimes we're really good at doing certain things, and it might be at home, it might be at work, but there are always certain things that we put off, like doing your tax return at the end of the year. And it's the sort of thing that sometimes it's because we're avoiding doing something that is either boring or it's mundane, or perhaps we don't know where to start, or there's a whole expectation and fear that comes into it. Fear is quite often, there's either the fear of failure, the fear of not knowing what to do, that you'll do it wrong, and therefore that stops you from even getting started or putting it off. And it's amazing how many things we can get done when we're avoiding doing something in particular. So one of the first things to look at is look at the tasks that you're putting off and try and understand, what are your reasons for putting that task off? What's going on in your head? What are the thoughts and feelings that are coming in when you think about doing that task or planning it? And that is a really good starting point for understanding better how you can then tackle it. So think about what you avoid, either on a regular basis or on something that you might do from time to time. And it can even help just to write down what's the task you're avoiding, and what do you think are the reasons that you're avoiding it? What's coming up for you? Is it that you don't have enough time? Sometimes it can be a really big task and you don't really know where to start. Is it your area of expertise? That can be an area of resistance for some people. If it's not something you're familiar with, perhaps it's not something you've done for a while, or you've never done it before and you don't really know where to start. But understand and look at what you're avoiding. An interesting thing that can also come up is thinking about, what is the benefit of putting that task off? What is it that you're going to gain by not doing that particular task or taking that action at this particular point in time? There has to be a benefit, whether it's that you're avoiding the pain, the fear, the uncertainty, fear of getting it wrong. There is a benefit that you will gain. Perhaps you want to do something that's more interesting. There's an impact as well on what's going on when you're putting something off. So understanding that and thinking, what is the benefit that I'm getting by not doing this task now? Might help you feel more comfortable. You can get on and do something that you feel happier doing, or that's more interesting, more exciting. But there will be a benefit behind the reason that you're putting tasks off. Also think about what the impact is of not doing a particular task. We all know the impact of not paying bills. Paying bills is boring, not getting our tax return done on time. That has a financial impact if we don't do it. And quite often, if you can understand the impact of not doing a particular task, particularly when it comes down to the emotional, the mental impact it can have, in that the stress tends to build up. You get more and more stressed about not doing it. You're more aware that you're putting something off, that you're avoiding it. So what is the either emotional, mental, or physical, or even financial impact of not doing that particular task? And is there an impact? If there is a significant impact, then understanding that again can help you think about your reasons and how you can tackle it. If there's a financial impact, being aware that if you don't get your tax return, your VAT return in on a certain date at a certain time, you haven't completed that work, that there will be a financial impact, and that can help you start to put things a bit more in perspective and think, well, I really can't afford to do that, therefore I need to make the time to do it, and then start to tackle it and put things into action so it's actually going to get completed. Is there an emotional impact? Again, so if you put things off, you tend to get the stress builds up, and it builds up more and more and more, like not doing things, completing a piece of work, getting a report done by a certain time when you said you were going to do it. If you keep putting that task off, you're going to get more and more stressed, and it's going to feel more and more overwhelmed until something happens and you just realize you just actually have to get on and do it. And what tends to happen is you find that you've built up in your mind that things are going to be a lot worse, or it's going to be a lot more difficult, or it's going to take a lot longer than it actually does. So when you actually break that resistance and start to work on it, then there's that element of, oh, well, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, or it didn't take as long as I thought. And you get it done. So then you need to ask yourselves, well, what was stopping me from doing it 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, and just leaving it until the last minute? And that, being able to plan and prioritize and think ahead, is also a way that you can tackle some of these tasks that you tend to put off. So thinking about how to prevent procrastination as and when it does occur. First of all, think about having identified the task that you're putting off, and identifying and at least becoming aware of the reasons that you put that task off. Think about breaking it down. Sometimes we'll put a big task off because it seems big, we don't have time for it, it's going to take us a whole day to do, it's going to take us weeks. Break it down into simple steps, the most basic step, the very first step that you need to do. So then it doesn't feel quite so overwhelming, and you can sort of think, well, yeah, maybe I can't complete my tax return in one go, but I can at least make the first start, fill in some of the easy information, start to fill in some of the figures. Or you might think, I've got a big piece of work to do, I don't have the time for it, but actually the elements within it are, first I need to send an email, I need to make a phone call, do some research, do some reading, jot down some ideas on a piece of paper. Those can all be small, simple tasks that you can start without having to feel that you've got to complete the whole thing in one go. So it really does help to break it down. With other tasks that we tend to put off, and they can tend to be the more boring, mundane things, doing our accounts, filing, sorting things out, household chores, in particular might be the sorts of things that you put off because they're not exciting, they're boring, there's something more interesting to do. So a way of tackling those is to do it in short, quick bites. So little and often, 10-15 minutes. Doesn't take so much time out of your day. There's not so much pressure. You can start it without feeling that you've got to work on it until it's finished, and you can just do 5-10 minutes. So think about whether that's a strategy that you can apply to some of these tasks that you put off. Spending 5-10 minutes at the end of the day doing your filing or sorting through your accounts, or even just once a week, is a much better way of keeping on top of things, so it doesn't build up and you don't then get that pressure because now suddenly it's become urgent and you've got to find time for it. There's also an element of, particularly where the sort of the fear aspect comes in, or you're really resisting something because you're not sure about it, or you don't want to get it wrong, or you think about it and think, well, no, I won't do that now, I'll put it off and I'll do it later, is just do it when you think of it. Make that phone call, send that email. Instead of thinking, I'll do that later, what's stopping you from doing it now? And if it's as simple as making a phone call or sending a quick email or doing a quick piece of work, then do it there and then, because inevitably you won't have the time later on, and therefore it gets put off again and again and again, and it gets left, and that's when it then becomes urgent. So use those techniques to have a look at how you can manage the things you procrastinate over. Planning and prioritizing are also important when you're looking at tackling things that you're procrastinating over. If you plan ahead, then you're less likely to put things off because you know you've scheduled that time in. And if it's something that you've prioritized, you have a better understanding of how that task fits in with your goals, your overall objectives, the things that you need to do, a particular piece of work that you're working on. So that makes it easier to tackle if you've planned and prioritized. And then you're less likely to start putting things off and resisting things anyway, because you know how it fits in. There is also what I call good procrastination. There are reasons why we put things off, and sometimes there's something about a gut feel, and I've often found that in the past, that if you're putting something off, there is that resistance. I'm not quite sure about this, I don't know where to start, do I have enough information? Something in the back of your mind or your gut instinct is telling you that there's something either not quite right or that you don't have sufficient information. And with certain tasks, you find that if you leave it, so you effectively procrastinate, that actually either the solution will appear in time, or you might find that it was not the right decision, or actually putting it off was the right thing to do because something else comes up, or a solution is found, or you get the information that you need. So if you're not able to see something immediately, then being aware of, is there something that's missing, can help to fill in the gap, and actually it's a good reason to procrastinate. It's also around putting things on the sort of the back burner, so to speak, so that you can have a bit more time to think about them subconsciously rather than deal with it there and then. So if you find that you struggle with procrastination, then try those elements of understanding why you procrastinate and what you're procrastinating over. Think about what you're avoiding and where that resistance is coming in. What are the thoughts and feelings that are coming up when you're resisting something? And look at how you can tackle it by breaking it down, doing little and often to tackle particularly those more mundane tasks, or just get on and do it, particularly if it's those things that we say, oh, I'll do that later, then just do it now. If you find that procrastination is a particular problem for you, take a look at, there are some blog posts on the topic, which go into it in a bit more detail, or go and have a look at the time quiz on my website. That's one of the areas that gets covered in that, and see how much of an issue that is for you. Send that in to me. There's an offer available at the moment for a very short period of time on getting a follow-up session with me to go through your time quiz results. So until next week, when I think my topic is probably going to be around meetings, how you can plan and organise your meetings more effectively. I'll leave it there for now, and have a good week. Get in touch if you'd like to, or drop a comment in below. Thank you.